Professor Ranganathan, the argument that Sanjay Jha and Indira make is that this is a BJP government, the CBFC is appointed by them, and therefore if they've taken a decision, this is something that BJP is looking into. It's not something that the opposition has anything to do with. Is it linked potentially to the Haryana elections, 4.9% Sikhs in the state of Haryana?
I absolutely agree with Sanjay on this. It is the cowardly act of the BJP government, and they are worried about the elections, and that is the reason why. But a slight disagreement, in fact, couple of disagreements with my previous panelists, who's very erudite. Number one, it's not a censor board. Its job is not to censor, although it has become a censor board. Its job is just to give a certificate, depending upon whether the film is A, U, or A/U. And secondly, with due respect, Kerala story and the Kashmir Files was not a propaganda film, as you said. Those were narrating real incidents of Kashmiri genocide that happened in 1990. To say it was propaganda is to disrespect what happened to Kashmiri Hindus. You might not be Kashmiri Hindu. You might not have been displaced for 30 years hunting for your job, but others have. So let's respect that. Let us respect that.
Can we not do Hindu-Muslim out here right now? We're not doing a Hindu-Muslim debate out here. So can you not do that again? Can we stop doing this?
Why are you denying a genocide? Are you going to deny the Holocaust as well? Is that your ignorance?
Nobody's denying the genocide. Nobody's denying the genocide. What is now you want to make it political? I'll make it political for what has BJP done for the genocide?
Are you calling it a propaganda film?
What have you done?
You just called it a propaganda film. The deaths of Kashmiri Hindus are propaganda film for you.
It was a propaganda. Please do not deny that. These films are all propaganda films. Now people are
no, ma'am, but it was based on, it was based on events that happened in Kashmir at that time. I don't understand what is, because if, for example, IC 814 is made.
Fought alive is propaganda for this lady. BK Ganju was shot, was propaganda for this lady. This is the problem in this country. You have censor board, which is concocting something, denying the right history to be shown, and then you have this generation, I don't know whether it is Generation Seki or Gen Z or whatever, coming out wholly ignorant of our history. It's a tragedy, Rahul.
Sanjay Jha wants to make a quick counter. Sanjay, if films like Kerala Files can go through, Kashmir Files can go through, then why not Emergency? Let those who want to watch, watch. Let those who want to not watch, not watch.
Oh, let me tell you that, I think as a country, and you're a veteran political journalist and an editor for a long time, we should become more transparent about everything that has happened in India's politics because it matters to people. I agree with you that Kashmir Files, there may have been some exaggerated claims. It was based on a very, very serious issue of Hindu Kashmiri Pandit migration. No harm in doing a film. I haven't seen the film. I don't agree with many things Agnihotri says or does. But I have no criticism about the film getting it even became a box office success. But also remember, the same people rejected many movies at the beginning of this year on Article 370, Godra, etc., Savarkar. They never found.
No, but that's the whole point, Kiran Jotkar. There are so many of these films that have come and gone without registering at the box office. Leave it to the wisdom of the Indian viewer, the Indian voter. Let him decide. If he thinks it's a good film, he'll watch it. Like the Kashmir Files got good acclaim and good box office collections. And if he thinks it's a bad film, like so many, some of which were named by Sanjay Jha, he won't watch it. You can't push propaganda.
Precisely. You should not push propaganda. And what this film Emergency is doing is pushing a propaganda.
No, but you haven't seen the film. Ma'am, you've reached very firm conclusions on the basis of a trailer, and you haven't seen the film, so you have no idea what you're venting about.
Then why am I invited to this talk show, and why are we discussing it if we don't know what the film is about?
Because I'm saying that the film should be allowed to release, and those who want to watch it should be allowed to watch it. It's people like you are opposing it.
Yes, then listen to us, why we are opposing it. We have a point of view. See, Emergency is the starting point of what happened in the 80s. And you cannot say that this Khalistan narrative that is being brought up in this film, it was not started at that point of time. So what I'm saying is that this film should have been based on some research on not just one point of view, but on the right perspective, an impartial perspective, because when a film is seen, it is seen by millions of people, and when it is against a small minority community, you need to be careful that their point of view is also listened to.
Anand Ranganathan is concerned that it villainizes the Sikh community.
On the basis of some propaganda. And this movie is, from the trailers and from the scenes that we see, it's more like a propaganda film.
That it villainizes the Sikh community. Professor Ranganathan.
Why not let the censor board decide, and why not the people who are objecting to it be called to the table and talk it out?
Professor Ranganathan.
Rahul, I have a very simple question to ask you. I already know the answer. Are you going to censor this particular show? Are you going to edit it?
No, absolutely not.
Correct. So on this, yes. So this is the greatest exemplar, because on this show, on live television, you have a lady saying that Indira Gandhi was a terrorist and the men who gunned her down, Satwant Singh, was not a terrorist. And you are showing it on to everyone in India without censoring it. The same lady wants things censored. Can you believe this? The irony just jumped out of a ledge.
When you object to a person, obviously you will get a response to that. Do you know what happened in the 80s? We have lived through that.
Stop being
and
patronizing.
Do you know
I know more than you what happened in the 80s.
We lived through that. So
I also lived through that.
Stop patronizing. And don't bring up things which do not matter in this particular debate.
False propaganda history. You're not a repository of what happened.
Bring up a narrative
that has already
been a source of
and stop calling our Prime Minister terrorist.
Be very careful about how you are handling it. You cannot label
Stop calling
people.
our Prime Minister terrorist.
Tell that so-and-so is an extremist, so-and-so is a terrorist. Why?
Stop calling our Prime Ministers terrorists. Stop calling our Prime Ministers terrorists.
You think the Sikh community has not been wrong?
Calling Mrs. Indira Gandhi a terrorist.
In 1984, was it not terrorism?
Stop calling Indira Gandhi a terrorist and stop vilifying Indira Gandhi and stop valorizing the people who killed her. That's the first lesson in history you should get.
Oh, really? I don't
and you're
need
not
this history.
Censored. Nobody is censoring you.
This is absolutely
I have heard your
wrong.
egregious speech.
To get into personal
you are the one who wants censoring.
Attacks on a person who is no longer on the scene. And if you read books that are coming out right now, you will know whose creation was Sant Pindrawala.
Not a historical debate. Listen, I just want to, Advaita Kala, I just want to draw attention back to what's at play. This is not a documentary, it's not a historical account, it's a film, it's an adaptation. She's got her take on it, she's a BJP MP, naturally she has a point of view and she's representing that. Should she not be allowed to show it the way she wants? Why is everyone trying to foist? Why isn't this shown about the Akalis? Why isn't that shown about the Shiromani Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee? I mean, let her make the film she wants. And if you don't want to watch it, don't watch it.
Definitely. I mean, but you know, the thing is, you know, the Sikh community and Kangana have had a very contentious back and forth going on for a while. So I think, you know, we're skirting around this. I think essentially it's really a problem between the community and Kangana. There's a trust deficit there, and hence these reactions are coming forward. It's not like, you know, this issue has not been shown on cinema before. It's not been written about in books. Bhindranwala has not been discussed. All of this has happened. Khalistan has also been discussed. But the problem here, I think, is that it's personal. I don't necessarily think it's about the film. If it was someone else who had made this film, I don't think the Sikh community would have responded like this. It's because it's gotten personal with Kangana that you're seeing all of this. And you know, that can be understood, but it still doesn't make it fair. You know, the film has to stand on its own merit. And we go through, again, I repeat, Sanjay seems to think I'm covering for the government, but I'm really not. I feel that, you know, there is a process in place. We are not that mature an audience, as much as I would like to second free speech absolutist, my friend Anand. But we're not. You know, we do react. We do have violence that occurs when these things happen.
Okay. Anand Ranganathan, you want to respond to this real concern that there could be violence? We've seen it in the past We've seen what's happened in Punjab. We know the situation with the farmers. We know what's happening at Shambu border and elsewhere. That there could be a real flare-up, and that's what's probably holding the government back.
As I said, the easiest justification for banning anything is that it will provoke violence. And this, we've seen it from the days of Nehru. When Nehru brought in the First Amendment to Constitution, it's based on this principle. Well, if violence happens, then what is the state doing? It is the responsibility of the state. Because if the state were to judge, then it's going to ban any book, any film that it likes, on the pretext it's going to provoke violence.